sworn affidavit is saying that Wilbrod Gatei Gashoka, together with Kilig Limited, which at that time was under the directorship of Ivy Onyango, approached me on a business opportunity, explaining that Kilig Limited got a commitment letter for KEMSA for 450,000 pieces of PPEs, and they need to arrange the supplies from China and provide suppliers financing. That after several rounds of negotiations since then, Entech Technology, where I am a director, that is Chen Chao, and Kilig entered into a sales agreement to provide financing and supply. That the agreement provided that two parties would open an escrow account to receive the payment from KEMSA and transfer the amount to Entech's account directly. That the bank did not offer escrow account services, so party agreed to instead open an account under Kilig and include me as a mandatory signatory. That I knew Honorable David Murathe and Mr. Wilbrod Gatei know each other, and that Honorable David Murathe is a respectable, high-standing member of society in Kenya. That in order to further safeguard and guarantee Entech's receivables under the supply contract, I requested Honorable David Wakairu Murathe to be a guarantor for the transaction by being a mandatory signatory together with me in the Kilig Limited account in Equity Bank. And he goes on to say that they imported the initial batch of 50,000, which were well packaged, in conformity with KEMSA packaging standards and quality assurance, and submitted samples to KEMSA warehouse on Kilig's account before the intended final delivery. That, however, he is also aware that KEMSA wrote to Kilig to cancel the letter of commitment on 30th June of 2020, and that the PPEs currently are well stored in their warehouse in Mitchell Courts, Nairobi, and that they are standing to face a huge loss amounting to $2 million US, which is a pure cost due to the cancellation. I want to note down at this point that KEMSA at no time engaged Entech. Entech is the company that was engaged, and according to what the submission of Chen Chao is that they were approached by Wilbrod Gashoka and Ivy for purposes of this financing. And according to this particular submission by Chen Chao, is that he to become a signatory to that account because for some reason Equity Bank could not open an escrow account, so they had to be put in as mandatory signatories. I want to now read the response by Wilbrod, honorable members, and that he confirms that on 22nd January 2020, that is an average of about 2 to 3 months or so, just before this company was given a commitment letter worth about 4 billion shillings, that he incorporated this company with Mr. Zhu Jiping as a director and shareholders, and that they were offered to supply the 450,000 PPEs on 6th of April 2020, and then that they were meant to supply them within 15 days. And on 17th of April, Zhu Jiping and himself resigned, and they transferred their shares. If you recall that they gave them to an advocate who was holding them in brief for a potential client, and that is Mr. Collins Bushwanjala, and that thereafter, the clients of Mr. Wanjala experienced stalemates in being able to secure the financing to acquire the same. So these shares were then transferred back to Ivy upon their instructions, and this is now a sworn affidavit confirming on the same. Ivy Minyo Advocate was nominated to issue the professional undertaking and to ensure the stake of all the existing and any future stakeholders were safeguarded. And honorable members, I want to continue by saying that this gentleman says he knows Mr. Chen Chow and Honorable David Murathe, and within his knowledge, further entered an agreement for supply of PPEs with Entech Technology, quantities of which were to be delivered, and that he is cognizant of the fact that Kilig wished to open an account with Equity, and in this light, Entech desired preservation of his interests, following which the companies requested Honorable Murathe to be an account signatories out of his goodwill in order to guarantee payments of Entech after the expected payment by KEMSA. All right, honorable members, this is now from the said Wilbrod Gatei Gashoka. Now, this is from David Wakairu Murathe, who says that he is aware and he knows Wilbrod Gatei and Xu Jinping and Mr. Chen Chow, who happens to be the financier, and equally as well that the Kilig was incorporated by Mr. Gatei and Jinping, that they were awarded this commitment letter. He was shown the same, and that the same had engaged partners who had promised financing for the purchase, but the partners experienced delays in securing the financing. And this is where now the same sworn affidavit from Collins Wanjala confirms that they felt that they were not able to get into this, so they transferred those companies back to Ivy upon the instructions of Gashoka. And Kilig and Entech Technology only requested me to be a signatory to Kilig bank account to guarantee that Entech Technology, as the supplier of the PPE kits, would be paid upon KEMSA affecting the anticipated payment on completion of the procurement process, and I obliged. I am not, and I have never been, a director, shareholder, or a director or beneficial owner in Kilig or Entech. And then lastly, I am aware that the commitment letter by KEMSA to Kilig was cancelled, citing limited budget for COVID-19, which had been exhausted, thereby resulting in no delivery, invoicing no payments for me to guarantee because there was no initiation. Thereafter, I ceased to be a signatory, as here and therefore mentioned, effective 5th August. These are the three sworn testimonies, honorable members. And since the same has already been brought by, we equally have the sworn testimony, which this came way before, way before. We were just trying to figure out the involvement of all these shareholders from one person to the other. We equally have the same for Collins Bushwanjala, and he confirms that I have no claim against the company for compensation in respect of that or any other matter. And there's a detailed one here where he goes ahead and explains that due to client confidentiality, that he has referred them to his client, but then that client refused to get involved into this particular aspect. I'll allow members just to be able to contribute. The ones, Mr. Chen Chow did not do a submission, but simply did a letter from the company that is a director in, saying that he is out of the country, but he is willing to give the submissions. Mr. Murathe sent a sworn affidavit, and I will just read out the issues that are the most vital here. Mr. Wilbrod Gatei Gashoka by yesterday got in touch via telephone to the clerks indicating that he has flu-like symptoms. I do not know whether he has gone for testing, but he has indicated that he has flu-like symptoms. I'd like to read out on this matter, and this is from Mr. Chen Chao, I'm in receipt of your letter dated so-and-so and referenced. I'm, however, unable to appear before the committee in the stated dates as I am in China currently and incapacitated to travel due to stringent COVID-19 containment measures in place in both China and Kenya. I am, however, willing to send my sworn written submission if that is agreeable to the committee. And I am informed that by last night, I think due to the